All right. So you said you raise cattle?
Yeah.
Okay, so how much cattle you got? Or wait, is that something you can actually ask a man?
That's an indication that you don't raise cattle asking that question, but I don't mind.
Exactly. Okay.
I don't mind.
Okay.
And I also don't know an accurate number. I'm going to say somewhere between 45 and 50 breeding age mamas.
Okay. Gotcha.
A couple bulls thrown in, some spare yearling heifers here or there. You might have traded for a hay bale or whatever, things like that, but somewhere in that neighborhood.
I'm glad I have my agricultural business partner to translate this stuff for me. Can you translate for me? What's going on here?
All I'm thinking is I can sell Casey some hay maybe later.
Hey,
let's talk. Let's talk. We're all in need right now.
Connections, man.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Speaking of connection, or speaking of in need, talk about in need of a refresher of your perspective on things. My wife texted me the other day and said, gas is at $2.99. And I'm like, why are we excited about this?
I know, it's pathetic, huh?
Why is that exciting? I'm like, I remember when it hit $2.99 and we were freaking out. But it's like, if it's worse, the thing that's bad looks better and you're celebrating, It's like, well, I was about to say the Jews coming out of Egypt, but then again, they still found a reason to complain. I mean, they did. I mean, it's like the wilderness isn't as bad as building pyramids, but they still complained. And there's some stories about that, but anyway. What?
Interesting start.
Man, I try to keep it. It's just off the wall conversation, man. That's the best. I mean, the scripted stuff, I can't stand. I mean, I guess it's because we live in a time where most of the people on TV, it just seems so scripted, whether it's celebrities, late night talk show hosts, politicians, it just looks so scripted. I think people are yearning for authentic conversation. And I think that's why this medium has taken off.
Yeah.
Not my podcast particularly, eventually.
I mean, when does this episode come out?
I'm hoping it. Dude,
sorry.
Back off.
Who knows? So do my takes need to be timeless? Because I don't want them to be dated if this is going to be like next year that this is rolling out.
Dude, that's the cool thing about history, about recorded history. Nobody, when they were making history, thought, this needs to be timeless. So I need to make this fit with what's going to happen in 100 years. I think that's one of the things that makes the time we live in kind of bland, is everybody's thinking, oh, is this going to jive with what people think in a couple months, a couple years?
That's a good point.
It's like, well, if that's no way to live. That makes everything kind of uninteresting.
That's true. You're self-censoring yourself to a degree.
Exactly. But the funny thing about that is people think they're being considerate. They think that they're being considerate of others, but it's actually pretty self-centered. It's kind of, I don't know. It's just my hot take.
I'm learning things already, man. I may need to lay down for this conversation. It's kind of therapeutic already.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm Rogan without the drugs and cussing. That's what I am, man.
But the cash, yes, right? I noticed you didn't leave that out.
I'm hoping. That's where I do plan for the future.
This will be the catapult or the descent. I don't know what I'm going to do to you guys' podcast, but I apologize either way.
The fact that you are a podcaster yourself shows that we're heading in the right direction. I saw a link. You know who the Babylon Bee is?
Oh, yeah.
So I saw a link. It said, they do satire, and one of their articles was, nation's podcasters have a moment of existential dread as they notice that their podcast consists completely of interviewing other podcasters about each other's podcasts. Like, wait a minute. And that article came out the day that I released one of my 2 podcasts. And I'm like, and it just happened that day I had somebody with another podcast on my podcast.
It just works. It's a sustainable ecosystem.
It really is.
That's the way I look at it. Regenerative broadcasting.
Yeah, it's kind of like actors interviewing actors kind of thing.
Which they love to do.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Are we? Now the question is, are we actors?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to be, like every time I've been in front of a woman for the most part.
Exactly.
Although now I'm domesticated. You guys know that? I'm about to be domesticated.
Really?
I've heard.
Yeah. I'm getting married soon.
Congratulations,
Thank
bro.
you. So
when is the big day?
October 9.
Nice.
We're like within a month, right? Or a month exactly.
Dude, that's awesome.
That is a bye week, right?
It is not a bye week, but
It's on a Sunday, right?
It's on a Sunday. She is an authentic Mexican woman. And if you grew up around other cultures, you know that for some reason, white people did not choose Sundays to party, but others did. I learned that growing up in Littlefield, Texas, America. And so I feel like we're not going to be afraid to party on this Columbus Day Eve, as a matter of fact. So some of the bankers in attendance will at least have the next day off, I guess. Yeah. Inspectors possibly will have the next day off.
I don't know, man. I had people telling me, like I work this Monday, and they're like, "Oh, you're working on a holiday?" I'm like, "What holiday is it?"
Right. What day is it?
I'm not trying to. Yeah. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to whatever holiday it is. It's just I'm like I don't like. There's extremes, There's people who just never work, that work on all holidays and just don't care. And then there's people who are expecting Martin Luther King Jr. to come down the chimney with presents. It's like they respect every single holiday as a point of it's got to be a day off. And if you can get it off, great. The truth is I envy people who take those days off. I can't. Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's.
Right.
That's all that my mind can, because those are seasonal. Those are truly seasonal to me. And I guess you can throw Easter in there too, but I mean, Easter typically isn't. I don't remember. Was Easter ever a thing that we had school off for?
It was on a Sunday.
But I mean, like the Easter, I know that Easter's on a Sunday.
Good Friday.
I meant the Good Friday. Was that ever a thing that we could?
Man, I don't even know.
Like a following Monday or something. Maybe it seemed like.
Yeah.
I think that's what shapes your view of holidays is what you get school time off on.
Sure, like Labor Day holiday feels like football season to me. So
yeah,
that's a season. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just in the rear view.
So between cattle and getting married, what else do you do for work?
I do several. Well, for work,
yeah,
I sell real estate.
Oh, you do that?
I do sell real estate.
Yeah.
I was about to say before you said work, I do several podcasts.
You don't consider the podcasts work.
They don't generate any revenue, so
that's tough to see, though, isn't it? I mean, because if it gets you publicity, does that not, in a way, generate some revenue?
I feel like I would see the money if there was money. Like I've been pretty good for the most part at identifying when I have money or don't have money. Publicity from a realty standpoint, is that what you mean? Or like marketing wise?
Yeah.
I guess so. I'm always hesitant to cross those streams. I try to separate the personality. Some don't mind. If someone has no idea of my broadcasting background, that's fine with me also because, if that's not something I'm bringing to the table where I feel like has to be a part of the realty experience, obviously. Some people do, or they just know me, so clearly it is. But
it makes you more interesting as a person, makes you easier to work with. It's like, oh, this guy's I don't know, maybe being a celebrity makes you tough to work with. I don't know.
I wouldn't know. I have no clue.
I'm the most unaware. I'm the most existentially crisis-ridden celebrity. I don't even know that I am one.
Yeah, I'm a celebrity in my own mind.
There you
and
go.
At family reunions, but not for any of the right reasons.
Yeah.
No, I try to separate the two, I guess, for the most part. But I don't think whatever I am has to come through just like everybody else. There's not really any diluting that or changing it with any consistency. So
I got you.
That's what you're getting.
Yeah. So on the whole podcasting thing, and you've been doing it for how long now? Because I remember at Keller when we met for the first time, you were doing it back then, and that was 8 years ago. So
well, I started in talk radio in Lubbock in 2005.
Okay.
And wound up strictly in sports radio from 2009 to 2018. There was about a year period where I wasn't on, came back for 2 years, and really just got into podcasting like at the end of last year.
Okay.
So the podcasting deal is kind of new to me.
Yeah.
It was mostly just obviously terrestrial radio, which is old to everybody.
Yeah. It's like when you say you're on the radio, people think nowadays that means podcasting. To a degree. I mean, when you say that...
You know what? I would like it if that was the case. And vice versa, because now I feel like I tell people, they're like, hey, you still on the radio? I'm like, no, I got a podcast. And they're tuned out by the time I get pod out of my mouth. Like, oh, okay.
It's like, what?
Like, not even...
You millennial?
As small or chicken-rigged as your local radio show might be, not everybody has a radio show. You got to actually go to a building and be let in somewhere. And you guys did let me into this building, so I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
But podcasting-wise, could kick out an episode from the pickup truck if you wanted to.
Exactly.
So,
and all you need is a phone and an internet connection.
We demand to be taken seriously.
Exactly.
I feel like God Bluth and the Magicians Alliance, we demand to be taken seriously. And I'm looking in the camera like a wrestler right now to really get that message across.
Macho Man Randy Savage, you're going down. So, I saw something about that. Macho Man Randy Savage, tangent here.
All right.
He's in Spider-Man, the first movie. He's Bonesaw in Spider-Man
Bonesaw
1.
McGraw, I think.
Yeah, they did a joke. He's like he trained 20 years in WWE to be ready for Spider-Man.
Right. Method actor.
Yeah, exactly.
God bless him. Rest in peace, Randy Poffo.
When did he pass?
Poffo. Too soon? I don't know. Too soon.
I didn't even.
Although when you look at the physique and you imagine what the body chemistry must have been like,
Yeah,
maybe he was around longer than you would think, than most scientists would predict. You know,
I don't know.
Professional wrestlers don't have a great track record.
yeah. You look at the big ones, like what is it? Andre the Giant. He died pretty young.
Yeah, and he's even big among them. I mean,
Yeah.
he was a real giant. So
Who was the guy that took a fall? I just remember in school, like coming home or coming to school the next day, and they said, "Oh, so and so was it last name Hart?" I can't
Owen,
even
man,
remember. Owen
from the rafters.
Yeah,
And I, at that time grew up wanting to be a guy that would kind of
I really thought you were about to say I grew up wanting to do professional wrestling.
no, but I always wanted to rappel from rafters until that day. And then I was like, I'm never rappelling from a rafter.
Whoa.
We all got dreams, I guess, goals. Mine was to rappel from rafters until didn't go so well that time.
Yeah.
At least not above a wrestling ring. I feel like if the turnbuckle wasn't there, maybe it'd have gone differently, although the floor was still there. Mm-hmm. But the turnbuckle, I think, was the initial point of collision. Do you know you're going to get this breakdown on this episode?
No. So
Pretty wild.
Speaking of this, when did you realize you had the gift of gab? Like the ability to just shoot the breeze and talk.
Oh, man, like the first time the preschool teacher was like, shut up. Quit talking.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you say gift. I don't know about a gift because, man, my mouth has gotten me in trouble more times than I can count. So
Yeah.
I have a book on my shelf that my father gave to me once upon a time. It's more like a pamphlet almost because it's like, dude, this should be pretty simple. You don't need an entire book over this. It's called Taming Your Tongue.
Yeah.
And that was actually, there was some good wisdom inside of that book.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thanks, Dad.
Uh-huh.
And he knew it better than anybody that I've got to be tamed.
It's
So this is tamed.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is me
man.
on the other side of that book.
Dude.
That's scary to think about, right?
We've got a guy, we were talking about him earlier that we go to church with. He's that way. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Yeah.
The preacher?
No. No, he's they let this guy preach from time to time. He'll get up there and talk, but he has to type out his lessons because if he goes off the cuff, I think he'll.
Man, if he went off, I don't want to see him off the cuff.
I kind of want to. I kind of want to. Like you see what happens when you see people off the cuff.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the unhinged version. So
Yeah.
I've seen him off the cuff in my dinner table, and it's
yes,
it's quite interesting.
scary. But no, I mean I think it's good to be off the cuff, and it's good to have that unhinged conversation because. I mean, to a degree, you gotta pull things back from time to time and be diplomatic. But I mean, I think everybody's so afraid of offending people nowadays, and everybody's so afraid of getting in trouble that nobody says what they think anymore.
Sure.
You know? And it's
A
like
lot of people don't think either, so they
that's the prerequisite. Yeah, people don't even have that. But I heard this one time, and it said people will spend the majority of their life waiting to get to a point where they're sheltered and protected so that they can say what they really want to say. But they've spent so much time waiting to get to that point, they no longer believe what it was they wanted to say. Does that make sense? It's like you don't say it long enough. If you don't say what your convictions are and what you actually think, and you get to the point where you feel like you can say it, you've gotten to the point where you're not even convicted of that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So you're just going to be a talking head, pretty much.
Yeah, were you really ever if you weren't willing to say it
Fair enough.
to begin with, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like so many people feel like they've got a global audience to please or something, when in all honesty, it's not really the case. And,
No.
Thinking about, you wouldn't care what people thought about you if you realized how rarely they did.
Exactly. Yeah.
Other fatherly wisdom I was given once upon a time.
Yeah, I've
that's a
heard
tough
that
one to get over, too.
Yeah, it is. And you said it, we have a worldwide audience, but the thing is that we just think we have a worldwide audience that we should care about what they think.
Sure.
Kind of thing. It's like everybody's going to hear what you have to say in the day of the internet, but you shouldn't approach it as being a people pleaser. I mean, the way I look at it is Jesus couldn't please everybody, so why should I?
Yeah, true. I mean, we all have people in our own lives that you want to please, people you respect, family members, whoever it might be in your life that I think you take their perspective seriously.
Yeah.
But that's rarely strangers on the internet. Matter of fact, I'd say probably never strangers on the internet.
Right. But that's the problem is a lot of people view who's on the internet not so much as a stranger anymore. It's viewed as a community. Like there's kind of this facade of, well, if they're on the internet and they comment on my video, well, they know me, they like me. I'm trying to get them. I'm trying to get their likes. I'm trying to get their affirmation and all that stuff. So there's this weird, I don't know if I call it Stockholm syndrome or whatever the syndrome would be. It's a syndrome, but it's weird, man. I don't know how to put it into words. That's something I noticed. You got the gift of putting things into words that I wish I could. Like,
you familiar with my rap catalog, or what are you saying?
No, I'm just saying.
What research have you been doing?
I'm just saying, like, when you say stuff, you don't seem to fumble over words. Like, it seems like what's in your head comes clearly out of your mouth. And I don't know if that's just from years of experience of processing the thoughts and putting it out there. Like, would you say that you're a quick thinker? Like you're pretty quick response, quick-witted?
I think typically, yeah, in most settings. And this is fairly early in the day, so, I hadn't been to happy hour or anything like that. It probably slows down as the sun sets. But
I see.
I guess, for better or worse, sometimes I mean, thinking quickly is fine. Speaking quickly is probably a different matter. So
your mouth may run faster than your brain, than the wheel up there.
But I feel like sometimes, especially when I'm on a show, not really like this where it's kind of laid back conversation, but where I'm like presenting something into the camera and it's a message that's tailored and intentional. I don't know. I get in this headspace where it's like there's a railroad track in my mind that what I'm saying is running down in front of me, and I'm like reviewing everything before it actually gets out. I mean, honestly, it's psychotic. I don't really know, but I mean, I fumble stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So.
I'm the type that I don't know what the last word of the sentence is going to be.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
I start it and I don't know where it's going.
The other day, my mother was quoting me at a family dinner, which she likes to do errantly. Like, I feel like I've been misquoted more by my mother. I don't know if y'all ever have family members like, whenever he was little, he said this. I'm like, there's no way I said that. And I could be wrong, but I'm taking the stand. Anyway, she was getting into a quote of mine. And I just knew at the beginning, I don't think she knows where this quote's going to end as she was finding her way through it,
It's Michael Scott.
Yeah, Michael Scott
Sometimes
syndrome.
I'll start talking and I can't remember the quote.
Dude, you got to know the quote.
That's one office quote I do not remember.
Really? That's like one of the most famous ones. I was watching some bloopers. Who's the character that's the tall beanpole? He's the one that...
Gabe,
yeah. So apparently
underrated character.
That dude is hilarious in real life. In the bloopers, he had Dwight and Jim, just Dwight and Jim. Their real names. He had them rolling. Like, they're Dwight and Jim to me. But he's one of those guys, and this is my favorite kind of comedian. The people that can keep a straight deadpan face and say funny stuff without breaking.
Yeah.
Like... You can turn what you're saying into something funny by not changing expression.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The facial expression can be everything. That guy was great on Silicon Valley, too. On
I've never seen Silicon Valley.
He kind of plays the same character. Weirdo Gabe, but it's still funny in either medium. Silicon Valley was hilarious until they got rid of TJ Miller. He was the funniest one, and I didn't keep up with it after that. But he's kind of an insane comedian, so I don't remember what he did. Told an insensitive joke or something along that, which is just entirely inappropriate.
Jokes by nature are kind of meant to be insensitive.
You would think so. Once upon a time, I mean, used to you would appeal to like the most moderate, reasonable perspective in the room.
Now we appeal to the
psychotic,
most radical, unreasonable perspective in the world,
which is insane in and of itself.
It's crazy. Here's I'll drop a little bit of wisdom on you here and take it for what it's worth, but that's the reason that there were court jesters back in the day for medieval kings. People think that court jesters were just a source of entertainment because people in medieval times just didn't know what to do for entertainment. But they were meant to push a king to the limit.
Yeah.
If the king couldn't take a joke, if he couldn't be made fun of and take a joke and learn how to listen to something that was offensive, because court jesters are pretty offensive. If you look up some of the actual history of them, they were on par with like your modern day Bill Burr, Joe Rogan type people. They didn't pull punches. And if the king couldn't take it, then it's not like they would oust him, but the court would probably have to have a talk and be like, dude, if you can't take a joke, what business do you have ruling over people? And I thought, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I never even thought that was the reason for him, but I think it should be mandatory for anybody in public office. They need a jester to make fun of them. And if they can't take a joke, That's my hot take.
I agree, and I'd much rather be a court jester in this day and age, because once upon a time the king's getting mad, and you're like, bro, you're the king. I'm wearing a hat with bells on it. Just take it easy.
Why are you taking me seriously?
None of us are taking ourselves all that seriously.
Yeah.
At least now you just kind of dress normally, I guess.
So bringing it back to what you said about terrorists. Yeah, you're just like, where's this going to go? But no, seriously, I thought it was a decent segue. 21st anniversary, 9/11 coming up this Sunday. And I was watching a video on YouTube the other day where these people are going around a campus interviewing kids, kids born after it, that learn about it in the history books. I'm like, dude, I lived through it. But anyway, they have no idea why it happened. They have no idea why it happened. They have no idea who did it. And it's just crazy to see. But then I think, if somebody would have interviewed me coming right out of high school, in college, if somebody would have interviewed me about what the Vietnam War was really about, could I have really answered that question? So do you think it's fair that we look at these younger kids and get mad at them for not knowing what 9/11 was really about, when maybe we couldn't have answered the question about what that was to us growing up? I don't know. That's just me trying to be objective about the situation.
I understand your point, but do we really know why 9/11 happened?
I'm
putting my tinfoil hat
How
on
it
right
happened, why it happened,
Who
did it?
Listen, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what's written, what's generally accepted with facts that are out there. We can get into a conspiracy argument. I get that. But I'm just saying from what's written.
What's written by
Who?
Yeah.
My man.
mainstream media?
It was also written at one point in time that cocaine relieves headaches prescribed by your doctor,
And
so
it probably
can we-
does.
It probably does. It'll
To
make
a
you forget
certain
about it at least. No, I'm not getting mad at him, because I totally agree. I don't even think it's conspiratorial. We don't know.
Yeah.
Like why, who, how. Saudi Arabia, for sure. There's one on the list.
Yeah.
They were there. Building 7.
Yeah.
What's going on there? If you really want to get into it.
Yeah. I don't know. You don't think the massive amount of debris and the shock waves of the buildings falling could have done something to that?
Possibly.
See, that's my
But
thing.
in a controlled demolition way? Kind of strange.
Yeah, I mean, there's all the conspiracies about the insurance policies and all that kind of stuff. Now, here's a crazy one, though. Not as crazy as some of the other stuff out there, but I was watching a documentary last night, actually, and there was a guy on American 11, the first plane to hit the tower, and, they have the seating chart of where everybody is. They know where this guy was sitting as opposed to the other 5 terrorists on that first plane. This guy joined the Israeli army. And he was an American, joined the Israeli army when his family moved to Israel. This guy was a tech billionaire during the .com boom in the early 2000s, late 90s, and he was on that flight. And he was a trained Israeli commando, and he was sitting between 2 terrorists. And it's like there's this whole diagram of how it potentially would have played out of if he would have been on that plane, would he have fought back? And it's because they show a diagram of how, because he was sitting in front of a terrorist, that guy might have gotten to him before he could have done anything. But, it's weird when you hear stuff about who was on the plane and how high profile they were.
Yeah.
That's where my conspiracy stuff can start going a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit.
I don't know why it has to be such a conspiracy just to want to know more.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that's a conspiracy.
Like the Pentagon stuff, it's just wild, man, to even think about that. 21 years later, and we still don't know. And
Yeah.
it may not ever.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean,
It'll be a JFK deal eventually, and I guess it already is.
right.
Yeah.
There's another video on YouTube. I spend so much time on YouTube, but
YouTube is the reason why I have doubts in this whole 9/11 deal. So
see that
look,
yeah.
in 2009, sitting in my dorm watching YouTube, get kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this guy heats up this piece of metal to a certain temperature that's less than the melting point of steel, and he's able to bend it like a noodle. So like the whole argument of the jet fuel can't melt. I'm not saying that they melted. I'm just saying the structural integrity was definitely damaged, and that whole thing. But I do like looking at both sides of the argument, and I think that should become a pastime, or not a pastime. That should become a common practice of everybody today.
Sure.
Look at both sides. You can be conspiracy. You can be conspiracy. I can read the history books. That's fine. Let's just have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I feel like anybody that's trying to shut any of it down is just revealing themselves as maybe someone with an ulterior motive. So
Exactly.
I don't like anybody that's outlawing questions,
Exactly.
Well, that makes you a conspiracy theorist now. It's just asking
exactly
questions
right.
about stuff.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a paddy wagon waiting for me outside.
Funny how that flipped. Yeah. Bring out your dead. Bring out your conspiracy theorists.
But I don't know about you, but good grief, as we've seen the weeping and gnashing of teeth as a result of the last administration and the era that we're into now, the thought that anti-American interests, as most Americans view them, could really be organized and infiltrated within this country has only become more and more realistic to me. It hasn't gotten further into conspiracy land. I mean, and conspiracy theorist was a term that was crafted by the CIA anyway to discredit those asking questions.
Yeah,
I'm talking
exactly.
about documented. That's
Smear campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
From the get-go. Yeah. No, I can see it. I mean, it's hard because you can look up and see just about anything to confirm your bias on the internet nowadays. Sure. If you think America has been infiltrated by Chinese communists or by whoever, you can find something out there that speaks to that. If you think it hasn't, you can find something that speaks to it. And we're at a place right now where there's so much information out there and there's so much of a vetting process that we have to go through of verifying whether or not it's real. We're kind of in this nihilistic state of, well, can't prove that anything's real, so might as well just live in our bubble.
I know. I mean, there was always, you'd hear warnings about how dangerous a time it would be whenever you couldn't trust what was right in front of your eyes, and we're well into that now. It's amazing how quickly it became that way.
Things got out of hand really fast. I feel like Ron Burgundy over here.
But I really feel I still have faith in people and in the populace.
Yeah.
You don't need fact checkers. You don't need any of the bowling alley bumpers or parameters or safety nets or any of that crap when it comes to people, I think, deciphering information.
Yeah.
I trust them a hell of a lot more than I do any news outlet or, again, the fact checker brigade or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hall monitors. It's crazy. they want to police the public.
They never got past the hall monitor stage in high school. They were so mad when they got that job taken away from them.
I completely agree. I think there are so many people that are in media that had no influence maybe growing up, and they didn't deal with that very well. And they may still not have much now, but when you have a Twitter account that's got 60K or whatever followers, you kind of feel like you might have some, and it really puts them on a high horse, and they don't wield influence or power very well. I think that's the majority of them now, it seems like.
Yeah, you got a point there. I mean, you think about it, power and influence used to come to people by way of trial and error and by way of going through trials.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like overnight you have power and influence just because you did something controversial. And you're taking somebody who has no experience with how to use that and wield it, and now all of a sudden it's like a monkey with the football. Not like a football, the football with the button. It's scary, man.
Yeah, I mean, they use it as a weapon. I mean, most journalists are activists. They're not journalists; they're activists.
Yeah.
Nowadays, so which I think is fine, just as long as people recognize that. I think most people can recognize that.
Yeah.
Which is why there's no need to turn on the television really in any way, shape, or form to get any kind of news. I mean, it's all angled in a certain way. So as long as you understand that, I think most people can handle that.
Yeah. Most of my news comes from YouTube. But, I'm not so sure that that's a terrible thing, because you think about it, YouTube, I'm able to see, like if I wanted to see CNN, I could see it. If I wanted to see Fox, I could see it. If I wanted to see Sky News Australia or whatever it is, all these different independent news outlets, I could see it. And I could go through a process of seeing multiple sides of the argument, understandably that there's actors out there. I get it, but at least I can get the, what would I call it? The extreme and maybe the conservative views of what's actually going on out there. And I can maybe decide for myself of what's going on. But the whole idea of getting your news, that's where if I can claim to be a nihilist at any point, which I'm not, but I'm kind of nihilistic in the whole sense of getting your news.
I am as well.
It seems, it's like, what's the point?
Well, I don't remember who the originator was, but there's the quote of, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed, and if you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. This is like 100 years ago, so now you can apply it to cable news or the internet or whatever it might be. But there's no doubt
That's good.
Well, and think about the people that are left in just a constant state of anxiety and panic because they're watching it all friggin' day.
Yeah. The CNN slider across the bottom of the screen is just burned into the television.
Turn it off.
We've seen that in houses before. Have you not seen like the Fox News little logo? It's burned into the TV because it's been on constantly.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
And when I bought my OLED TV, they're like, that's the big risk is burn in, for leaving it on for a little bit. I'm like, man, if you gave an OLED TV to like a boomer or like an old school, like they're going to have whatever news outlet that they watch just burned into it constantly. It's like you change the channel once and you're going to get like whatever the unholy union of Fox and CNN would be on the burn in.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I feel fortunate sometimes to spend so much time in the ag or ranch communities because
disconnected.
Oh, good grief, yeah. And then you see people that are tuned in all day, every day to these types of things, and they go on vacation and disconnect, and they're like, wow, what a miracle from God. I can't believe how great I feel. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Duh. I mean, try it on a more frequent basis.
Exactly.
I think Twitter, you're talking about getting news, it's like the greatest news aggregator ever. I mean, I really think that's where I go.
I think he meant to say aggravator.
Also aggregator and aggravator.
Yeah.
That's where I really go when like something's happening. And it's never like, hey, what's Fox or CNN saying? It's like, what's this independent media guy who's on the ground in this riot with his iPhone?
Yeah.
What's he saying? And like, that's the place you can really go get that stuff.
Yeah.
Or YouTube or things like that.
Yeah. What were you about to say?
I think we passed the subject now. We were talking about Fox News, but both of my 2 living grandparents watch Fox News all the time. But even my granddad the other day, he said, I can't watch it anymore.
No.
Finally,
he's 80-something. He said, it's just too depressing.
Oh, man.
The blood pressure, man, is just either one.
It's terrible.
An 8-panel or an 8 talking head panel, right?
Yeah. All screaming at each other
in 7-minute segments.
Can't get a word in. Oh man, it's awful.
Speaking of Twitter, anytime I listen to you, you're always talking about something you see on Twitter, but I have not seen you on Twitter in a really long time.
No, I just had
incognito?
to remove it. Yeah, cut it out, like a cancer of some kind. At Locked On Tech, I got a new podcast, Locked On Texas Tech, so I'll espouse some things there. But no, I like to follow, to lurk, to collect some news or whatever. But this is weird for a guy talking into a microphone, and again, on the 3rd podcast of the day to say, but I don't feel like often I really have something that needs to be shared. You know what I'm saying? Especially in however many characters or less. I played that game. I mean, we're all roughly the same age, aren't we? We're kind of within the same range.
I don't know.
Who did I just insult? Because I just turned 38.
I'm 32.
You made me feel awful. I'm 29. like I look like I'm the same age as
I was
the
about
gray
to say
haired
within
dude.
10 years. So we're within the same decade. But like we grew up in the moment where social media became a thing. And I remember all those times where it was like, oh, yeah, I love these likes and whatever. I'm going to tell everybody everything I'm doing, and it's great. People are paying attention to me. It's awesome. I'll go ahead and create this like fictional type of narrative about who I am. And then eventually you just realize it's trash. What a waste of time.
Yeah.
And I always just thought, not everybody does, but sometimes I just envision like my father or grandfathers on social media. And it just took me to a point where I thought I never want to be, as an individual, represented on social media again. I have no use in it.
Yeah, I wonder what our folks from the past would have been like on social media. What would a Julius Caesar's midday status update have been?
This son of a, I think he's scheming on me.
Yeah,
I think that's what it would have been.
This Brutus cat. What's he up to?
I don't know. This guy's sus. I'm getting a little suspicious. Something like that. And it's not to say that that's wrong or whatever, because I know a lot of people use it, but it has just made people so dramatic. And we live in a television culture, so everything is so performative.
Yeah.
And social media makes you so performative. Like I see just regular people I know that are like giving monologues in their car seat. Why? Like performative behavior can bring out the worst characteristics because you're trying to generate a reaction.
Exactly.
Performing is not being. That's not who you are.
Yeah.
And so I think whenever you're constantly 24 hours a day, like in this performative mindset,
Oh, goodness.
it doesn't lead to good things. I feel like that's how I would sum up the entire social media conundrum. It makes people act the way that they aren't. And then when you're processing this guy performing, you're like, well, this guy looks like kind of a jerk, or I don't really like him. He may be right, but that's probably not who he is.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you're just chilling in the living room or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the worst actors that we see out there, I think deep down they're not that way, but they've conditioned themselves to be that way. Either now they don't know how to be any different, or even worse, they can never be perceived any different.
Oh, sure.
That's got to suck. Like if you deep down know, I'm not such a terrible person, but man, I've spent all this time acting terrible. People don't view me as any different.
Right.
Now I got to act terrible, or else people are going to think I'm disingenuous for not being terrible.
Well, it's like rappers growing old.
Oh yeah.
Or Howard Stern aging as a grandfather. Mm-hmm. How do you ever get out of what you were? You know, it's kind of a curse, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's why you got to be thinking about the upcoming days when you're younger. Like don't be just thinking you live in a box of your 20s.
Oh, absolutely. I remember the comedian Cat Williams had a great bit about that, just talking about, you know, like rapper, like, you're going to be hard at breakfast? You eating breakfast and you're already gangster?
Yeah.
You know, you can't live that way all the time.
The most relatable joke he's ever told was the pimp decision. It's like, now, son, I can buy you an Xbox with one controller and one game. Now, Daddy can do this all day, every day, but I can go down to the classifieds and get you a Nintendo 64 with 60 games and 2 controllers. Did you say 60 games? That's a pimp decision right there. That's a pimp decision.
Who would have thought you had such a great Cat Williams impression? That's not bad.
It's not high pitched enough to be Cat Williams,
Man.
but I seen it enough in my day. I remember when that made the rounds in the mid 2000s in high school, and that was it. I remember when pop culture references started to become a big thing in high school. Like people were referencing Evolution of Dance on YouTube. You know, that video, that guy in the orange sweatshirt or t-shirt doing the dance, Charlie Bit My Finger, you know, like the golden age of the internet, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty nostalgic person. That's one of my biggest downfalls. He'll speak to it. He's like, am I the most nostalgic person you've ever met?
Oh yeah, probably, but I know you a lot more than other people.
Fair enough. But
Who's not nostalgic though? I mean,
well, when right now can seem so bad, I mean, it's easy to be nostalgic, even for times that weren't that good. I mean, the 90s, they were great, but it's kind of nice to be able to have your whole life on your phone to a degree where you don't have to wait to hear from people when they get near a wired phone, you know? But then to a degree, it's kind of nice to not have to be able to hear from people for a little bit. But he's got a song called Breaking Up Was Easy in the 90s. He's got a line in there that's poetic. He said something about how when like back in the day, I could have been out all night and could have gotten home and called you, and you could have been out with your friends. But nowadays, if I call you and you don't pick up, I know that you're rejecting me because you've got a cell phone. It's like that kind of thing. It's like the constant connection makes it to where you know these. This is where I can't finish the thought, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
We were talking about Tyler Childers yesterday, and then we
Love Tyler
then you
Childers.
resort to Sam Hunt. Do you know who Sam Hunt is?
I know
Really?
Sam Hunt, yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I remember your
Got a
bit
great
on,
voice.
You were talking on the radio
He
about
does.
Luke Bryan one day, and that was one of the best things I've ever heard about. Which you claim to not ever have known who Luke Bryan was. I didn't.
No,
know
you
really didn't know.
No,
at the
and
time?
I still don't know a song. He doesn't. Well, I know it's
have to
Country
apply
Girl
to it.
Shake It For Me, right? I was trying to think of the stupidest ones I've ever heard. Chew tobacco, chew tobacco, chew tobacco, spit. And on the back row. I don't know. You just throwing the whatever.
That was Blake Shelton, the chew tobacco.
Yeah, it's terrible. I don't mind people having whatever taste they want to have, though. You know, obviously a lot of people like that. So you can search out and find great country music still. That's not it, but it's great pop music, I guess.
Just talking about poetic country songs, and we go to Sam Hunt.
I did say it was a poetic country song. I said the line was
said that.
the line was poetic because it appealed to me. All right, poetry is whatever appeals to you. All right, poetry can be, you know,
That's a great way to put it. For
mean-
people that don't know what poetry is, especially like me, because they'd be like, that's whatever I think it is.
I mean,
It's like art.
yeah. I mean, art's whatever moves you. I mean, and here's the thing: I'm not saying that objectively. A line on a board is art. I've got a good friend who went to stay at a hotel when they're out of town, and in this hotel, it's a pretty nice hotel, and they've got art everywhere, like modern art. And one of the pieces of art is a line drawn across a page. He had one of his kids draw the same thing, And he's like, this isn't art, man. This is just tasteless. So to a degree, there's some stuff that is not art. But, you know, if it moves you, if it makes you think about something, if it makes you feel something, then to a degree, I can't not call that art. I can't not call that a form of poetry if it moves you in a certain way emotionally.
Are memes art?
I think so. I mean, if they move you, I mean, do memes not move you emotionally? Do they not make you laugh? Does it not take a deeper understanding of the human condition to make a good meme?
I agree.
I mean, poets understood the human condition, and they were able to write really good poetry. Now, ask me which one's going to be remembered more fondly in human history. I think John Donne is going to be remembered much more than me for making my memes on my phone, you know, but...
Well, you say that now.
Fair enough, yeah.
100 years from now,
yeah, talking about kids who don't know what caused 9/11. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to know who John Donne is in 100 years.
I don't know. I think postmodernism is garbage. So if I see postmodern art and it makes me react in a way that says this is trash, that makes it art, I guess? Because I feel like postmodern stuff is not art.
Yeah, because it's.
But it made me react. So based on what you're saying, maybe it is art.
You know, if it produces a negative reaction, I might be less inclined to say it's art. But then again, there are probably some pieces of art that make you pretty sad, profoundly sad.
Sure.
And that might be a good, I guess it depends on if it agitates you. No, I would say no.
Okay.
But if it makes me feel some sadness and maybe some righteous indignation, I don't know.
So the news
is definitely not art.
I'm like sad that it's a crime against art.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to call it. Like, have you ever seen the Twitter page, Architecture Against Humanity?
I've heard of it.
I love it. It's one of my favorite follows. Like, I really got into, probably a decade ago, understanding, like, Dadaism, which is, I think I'm pronouncing it right, is just another avenue of postmodern kind of nihilist stuff. Nothing means anything. Everything is trash. Urinating on the Virgin Mary type of art stuff, you know? And it actually is like a tool of cultural destruction. Like, it's not just something that comes up organically. It's
got a purpose.
Coached. Yeah.
And it's trying to destroy
It's trying
good
to
art or good
upend
culture.
everything.
Okay.
And so, like, we're here in Lubbock, and one of my greatest frustrations is the fact that Buddy Holly Hall looks like someone that hates beauty designed it.
Yeah.
I mean, out of all the things you could have come up with, we come up with something that says, I hate classical beauty. When just down the road on Texas Tech's campus, you got some of the most beautiful buildings you'll find. And it drives me insane, especially just down the road from a courthouse square that looked like it would have been the favorite of Soviet Russia. And I feel like, man, okay, we really biffed this one back in the day. Good God. It's not even ugly. It's just nondescript. It's just boring and nothing. And so you have a chance in 2021 or whenever to establish some great concert hall. And like, I'm thinking about Fort Worth's like Bass Hall and stuff. I mean, that building like makes you feel something. Y'all familiar with that building?
I'm not.
It's got like these huge trumpet blowing angels sculpted on the outside. I mean, it's awesome. We're on the same budget as what this one's built for, same capacity roughly. But you look at the inside of that thing, you look at the outside of that thing, it's like, this is beautiful. And it really, kind of like you're talking about with art, or like with a chapel or an old church or sanctuary, it like really casts your eyes up to the heavens and makes you think about things beyond like this reality.
Yeah.
Buddy Holly Hall does not do that. And I'm so frustrated. That's what we went with. I'm like,
it is no Sistine Chapel.
what in God's name were people thinking? Architecture Against Humanity is something like that, where it's just pictures all around the world, this Twitter account.
I am going to give this
All
a
around the
follow.
world. And they show these beautiful buildings compared to now what people build. And of course, there's a movement now where people are saying, no, we're going to get back to like classic architecture. And we're going to, if we remodel a building, we're going to make it look like it was built 200 years ago. I hope that's something that sets in a little bit further. I have no idea how I wound up in this part of the conversation, but I'm mad at Buddy Holly Hall. And quit making us have a sippy cup to have a drink. Have you guys been to a show there?
I have.
You know the sippy cup route, right? Did you
I
go
don't
to the
think I got
concession
a
stand
refresh-
at all?
No, I didn't.
It would have cost you about 15 just to get in the game. They make you have a sippy cup with the lid, Buddy Holly Hall, branded, of course. Legit looks like a sippy cup.
They
And
don't
if-
want you to spill it, I guess.
If you don't bring it back, you're in for another sippy cup. And these are about $3 a pop each round. And they won't even make you a Chilton. You guys have time for my Buddy Holly Hall beef list? Because I've been to several shows. They're bringing great acts, thank God. But I got so much beef.
I just feel like you need to get on what's it called, Yelp, and you need to leave them a scathing review of them.
I mean, they've got all these, like a drink menu, and it's like, that'll be the day margarita, rave on, whatever. All these Buddy Holly song name cocktails, right? Then I'm like, hey, can I get a Chilton? Lubbock Legend, invented right here in the LBK. I don't know if we have the stuff for that. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure if I know how to make that. Homeboy has to run to the back. Like, I don't know, go talk to the manager or something.
I mean,
give me a break.
I don't know. I don't drink, but I mean, I imagine they would find a way to make a cup of coffee or a glass of tea or a glass of water, like
for about $35.
Yeah, exactly, more expensive. You ever heard the joke about the movie theater got robbed? Got robbed like 10 grand. They stole a bag of popcorn and a couple sacks of candy.
Right. That's about how it is. I mean, I get some of it, but.
And I remember movie theaters being expensive back in the early 2000s and late 90s. Like I remember like a deal of Skittles. I think it cost $2 back then. Yeah. Nowadays it's like $4 for a thing of Skittles about that big, and you open it up and the bag's even smaller and the bag's half full.
Right. Yeah. Packed with air.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to find a woman that I didn't have to tell to load the purse up to go to the movies. And I did, praise God. You know?
That's how you know you've arrived.
I'm like such an anti-movie theater guy, though. I mean, what a scam.
Oh, man. See, I love the experience.
I love that.
Yeah. I can get into the experience, but yes, it's a scam. Like
everything around it.
Yeah. I mean, I want to just let me bring in my own food. Like, don't make it illegal for me to bring in my own food. Like,
I don't know. There could be some weird smells if you're bringing like Tupperware with leftover casserole or anything.
Dude, if I want to watch Top Gun with my wife's broccoli casserole, who are you to tell me no?
If you got some of that, I'll come watch it with you.
You're oppressing me if you tell me no.
Broccoli casserole.
Beanie weenie, that's the way to go.
If I could watch Top Gun with chicken spaghetti, glass of iced tea, some corn, mashed potatoes, oh man, that'd be so much fun.
That's like the ultimate wish, huh?
Well, that's what you can do at the Alamo Draft House.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, I've never been there just because I prefer to go to IMAX to see new movies. But in my family, like they like something a bit in the middle. They don't want to go to the Alamo Draft House because people are going to be talking during the movie. Most likely, they don't want to go to IMAX because it's too loud and the seats don't recline. Right. But they love the reclined seats at the Cinemark XD.
Some people are getting crazy with it though, man. I'm seeing people bringing blankets in, like ladies putting the bags under the eye patches, like she's going to bed. Oh, just straight up put a mask over her face, told us to quiet it down. Is really, I thought, egregious, but that was just one time.
10 points, big word.
Alamo Draft House is cool. I like that place, but I did go to one quote along, Army of Darkness.
Oh, yeah.
And it was terrible. It ruined the entire thing. Because it's like, all right, everybody, here's the line we know. 3, 2, 1. And everybody's just like, all right, I'm over this.
He
like
said
10
the
minutes.
thing.
Yeah, 10 minutes into it, I'm over that. But I dig it otherwise.
Yeah. I like the idea of having your own theater at home.
That'd be all right, too.
I go into a lot of people's houses, and in their basements, they got the movie set up. Like, this is my rich friends in high school had the home theaters. I always thought that that's what made you top 1% rich. Nowadays, dude, I thought growing up, if you had a fridge that dispensed water, you were rich. That was when you made it.
Wow. We were loaded. We had water out of the fridge, and it was a self-built home theater. But you should have known me in high school. I would have dispelled of that notion. Oh, that the ones with home theaters.
No, you were just one of the rich kids that kind of went off the rails. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, man, I like the theater experience, but just the turnstile, the cash register, I can't really get over. But the like Top Gun was one of those that you feel like you got to see in that setting, right? I mean,
so what'd you think?
It was amazing. I watched it in a dust storm. Hell, I saw it at the drive-in, and I still loved it.
Really?
I need to go back and see it in a theater. I really hadn't even seen it in that kind of setting, but
they're probably going to re-release it in theaters. They did already once, but they're probably going to do it again post. Which, by the way, if you go back and re-release your movie and now it becomes the number 1, number 2, number 3 grossing movie of all time, the post-initial release revenue should not count towards that, I think. That's just a bone to pick that I have. Because they did that with Avatar and Avengers Endgame. This is back when I was a Marvel fanboy before I woke up. But anyway, they re-released Avengers Endgame to beat out Avatar. And they did. And then Avatar got re-released in anticipation for Avatar 2 coming out. And it beat it out. And I'm like, this is it's like it's a peeing match. It's like, what are we doing here?
I left Avatar. I thought it was terrible.
You think so? Okay.
I only went because it was a buddy's birthday and he wanted to go for some reason. I'm like, we're 23, man. All the things you want to do, you want to go see Avatar with your buddies? I just went to the arcade.
See, I was
mad the whole time I was even there because those movies don't interest me at all. Is fantasy, whatever.
It was a spectacle. I mean, at the time, it was the coolest movie ever in terms of spectacles, 3D. I mean, I liked it at the time, but I mean, looking back at it, I mean, no, at the time I loved it. I saw it in theaters 5 times because of the spectacle. But listen, you were 20.
Are you serious?
You were 23, right, at the time?
I don't know in that range.
I was like
what year it
16,
came out.
maybe 15 at the time.
Okay.
So I was, but
I'm really stepping on some toes here. Then I didn't know I was gonna.
I have not seen Avatar, for the record.
dude, we've insulted A-list music stars. We've insulted local architecture.
That's right.
I mean, if you don't insult me, I'm going to feel left out.
I guess so. You didn't design Buddy Holly Hall, did you?
Maybe I had a hand in it. Maybe I was one of the donors. I think I'm on one of the donor bricks on the
I want
side.
my money back if I was on that list.
But no, I saw it a couple times and I really enjoyed it. But looking back, or when we watched it out of the theater on a regular TV, like a 32-inch little plasma screen TV back in 2010, it was garbage. It's not meant to be, because it's Dances with Wolves in space with aliens.
Oh, okay.
It's The Last Samurai in space. It's the same story. Guy comes to a foreign land, gets lost in the culture, ends up getting sympathetic to the culture, ends up having to choose between that culture and the people he left behind, chooses the culture he's ingratiated with, becomes part of the people, saves the people, lives happily ever after with his native wife or whatever. It's the same story. And I thought, if that's all it is, then all I went to it for was the spectacle of the theater. That's all it is. So
yeah, I get kind of taxed with just everything being so green screened and fake, and so like the spectacle of like Avatar stuff like that to me just more so makes it roll my eyes, I guess, because I'm just like, all right, well, yeah, great graphics, I guess. Everything's great graphics. How fake can you make something these days? Like you watch an action movie and like everything is possible, and I'm kind of like, I don't know if I really want everything possible anymore. I kind of miss the old shoot the scene and only achieve what you can achieve, I guess.
Why do you think people love Batman more than they love Superman? Superman can do anything. Batman's just a human being like the rest of us.
Yeah, very troubled.
There's something really uninteresting about being able to do anything. And I think that's why movies like what you're talking about with CGI, why they're so uninteresting. I want the old cheesy 80s action. You know, I want some of that. That's why I love the movie Predator. You know, it's got very minimal special effects, but what special effects it does have, they blend that with the actual real environment, make it believable, and it's also just an unapologetic 80s masterpiece of testosterone and horror. And I'm like, yes.
Have you seen the new one with like Comanche Predator? Are you familiar with this?
I did. I'm not a fan.
Wasn't any good.
I mean, here's the thing. It's the best Predator sequel since Predator 2. But that's not saying much. Predator 2 was garbage compared to the original. Looking back on it, I have a fonder appreciation of it since the newer Predators have gotten worse and worse and worse. But it's the Star Wars prequel syndrome.
I see.
You know,
Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, we hated Jar Jar Binks at the time. I mean, really, we hated it. But now since the new stuff come out and everybody's like, the new trilogy just sucks. It's spitting in the face of George Lucas. This is what people say, and now they're gaining a greater love of the prequels, which we used to hate. It's nostalgia, is what it is.
That's true. That's true. I don't. Jar Jar Binks. I really hate the guy. Now I'm considering that. I'm not quite sure.
What if they made him Darth Jar Jar? What if they made him a secret Sith Lord?
Dar Binks.
My first Star Wars movie was Episode 1, and I was thinking, like, this is what Star Wars is? This is what everyone's getting?
Yeah.
It was mine, too.
That was a mistake.
99. Second movie I ever saw in theaters. First one was The Iron Giant.
Yeah, but, when I remember last year I'd got a new television and some new sound system equipment, plug it in, get it all set up, get on the guide or whatever, and I see Star Wars on. I'm like, perfect. Put it right on, crank it up as loud as it'll go. And I just, got a a fight scene or whatever. I'm like, okay, it's built for this.
Yes.
Even though I don't care about what's happening in this story.
I just want the
Sounds
feeling.
and looks good, you know?
It's Avatar.
Yeah. Very simple. Very simple, I suppose.
Yeah, I love. We have one of those at the house. It's just a really nice soundbar system. It's got the side speakers, a subwoofer, and the 11-channel soundbar. And a friend of mine, Matthew, he says, most movies can't take advantage of all 11 channels. I'm like, don't tell me that. Don't suspend my disbelief. But yeah, so the movie that I would have to. So if you had a brand new sound system, like top of the line, like somebody gave you $50,000 and said, pour all this into your own professional home movie theater system, best picture, best sound, what's the first movie you're going to watch to get the best out of all that?
The first movie I'm going to watch, man, that's a great question. Well, good grief. I mean, why would I not just go with Top Gun since it's on my mind? That can't be like a good answer.
I think it's a good answer.
But it's one of the best as far as rattling your bones, I think. Like I said, I hadn't even seen it in the theater. I've got a good system in the truck, though. So at the drive-in, I mean, I was still thumping, the chest. But that'd be a pretty good one to see. I'm trying to think over the years what I've really enjoyed as far as the theater setting. I'm not like a huge action guy. I mean, I'm more of a comedy movie guy which they don't make any good comedy anymore because everybody has to be woke. But that was the other thing with the Comanche Predator movie. I saw that it was like a male or a female lead, a Comanche warrior princess. I thought, well, that never existed. The Comanche women were doing the worst things in the village. Yeah, like the absolute worst thing. So it must be a woke movie, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm not here for any of that.
That wouldn't have happened back then.
Was that what it was, or was it kind of that way?
Yeah, she was. So she's a Mary Sue.
Yeah,
she encounters barely any difficulty in the movie, and what difficulty she does encounter, she's able to immediately overcome it with no conflict.
And it's probably the fault of the patriarchy, I would imagine.
Pretty much, yeah. Like all the men in the movie are portrayed to just be just terrible. But here's
they were Comanches after all. So it must have been a good one somewhere. But good grief,
it's like
pretty rough crowd.
It's awful. I mean, it's terrible. There's some bits of it that I really appreciate. The action where the Predator's doing some fighting. It's on par. It's good stuff. That's what I watch the movie for. I don't care about the other characters. I don't care about her journey. I've seen it before. Give me the Predator.
I don't know why it's coming to my mind. And a lot of times when I think movie theater, the sound is great, but the visual as well. Why am I thinking of Gangs of New York all of a sudden? That's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think about some of those scenes where they're like going into battle and you got all the drums and the sound and I mean, the sights of that movie are off the hook. You know the movie?
I know the movie. Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis, one of his finest. My favorite Daniel Day-Lewis movie would be that. Have you seen all of his?
I've never seen The Last of the Mohicans, and I fell out on There Will Be Blood. Got a little bored.
There Will Be Blood's probably my favorite, just because it makes me think. But Lincoln is probably one of the best that he's ever done.
Yeah, that was a great one. Yeah. Although it took some time. And I didn't know this before. I understand now. It took some time to get used to the voice. They're like, no, that's really what Lincoln talked about. And people that were trying to project their voice back in the day were not speaking in low tones.
No. Yeah.
It was a whole education for me based on that movie. Because when you're like,
that's a good point. Right,
first Lincoln scene, you expect him to come out like, free the slaves.
And he's like,
free the slaves.
That's a good.
It took like some getting used to.
I'm just going to have to assume that's a great Lincoln impression because you're basing it off of the greatest actor in the world, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Well, it made me read about it, and they're like, "No, that's relatively historically accurate as far as we know," and that a lot of people in that time that were speaking publicly, obviously they didn't have these microphones in front of them, were speaking in a higher pitch to really project their voice in that kind of way. So,
well, there's recordings of Theodore Roosevelt, and we look at Teddy as like just the manly man, just the
very white voice.
Yeah, but he's like he's pretty high pitched too. I can't do the impression, but he's pretty.
Oh yeah, protect our national parks, something like that, Oh man. Oh, TR, what a guy.
Oh, I wish we had a president like him.
We never could again. I don't think.
Man. I would take him in a heartbeat.
What a wild story, man.
I've got some books about him I've been meaning to read. I go through these phases with books. I'll buy a couple in a row. I'm like, oh, this looks good. I'll read the opening. I'm like, wait, now this book looks good. I just keep going on and on.
I think I got 6 on the table by the chair right now that I'm
really.
Yeah, but they've been there for.
Oh, okay. So you do.
I'm reading them all for like months on end. You know, I don't know why, but
I'm reading several books now and have been for many years.
Whenever Impractical Jokers is over or whatever, I get done with Big Brother.
So, do I look like one of the characters from the show? The guy that's balding?
I mean, I immediately knew.
Yeah.
Murr.
Yep.
He's one of my favorites, though.
That's what people have told me. That's what people have told me, and I hate it. I hate it.
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah. For Impractical Jokers,
he's got an affable face. You know, you look like somebody.
Laughable what?
Laughable face. Affable face. You look like somebody that people would like to know.
I thought you were about to say like to laugh at. I was like, because you paused.
Like to like.
What would you concur? My business partner, my confidant, my friend.
Yeah.
He was looking away when he said yes.
That's an immediate sign of distrust. Yeah.
Look at him.
You can't even look at me when you lie to me. What about you? What's your movie? Don't think you're going to get away from the question. The hard-hitting question of the evening.
Well, I'm not a big movie guy, but the last one that I've seen recently which I've seen a bunch of times, that just blew me away again was Tombstone.
Oh, so good.
And
yeah, it never gets old.
The most quotable movie of all time, next to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's like top spot.
Speaking of Impractical Jokers, I don't watch it a lot, but I saw a clip on YouTube the other day. Do you remember the bingo one?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
He had to, I forget who it was, but it was the guy with the beard and he had a full head of hair.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Hell if I know.
Anyway.
Sal, Murray, Joe, and something.
Okay.
Quince.
He had to go in.
Sound like an Impractical Joker.
He had to go into bingo, and I didn't realize how intense these people were, but every single time a number was called, he had to stand up and call bingo.
Oh,
and
yeah,
these people were getting so mad at him. I had no idea how grumpy bingo people were. But
TV's so good when it like makes you cringe on the couch, like The Office or stuff like that. You know, it almost makes me want to change the channel.
Yeah, season one's tough to get past.
I think I've got way too comfortable with The Office, and I mean now my favorite episode is the dinner party episode.
Oh,
right.
Goodness,
for sure.
You're way too comfortable with cringe, man.
That was just hilarious, though.
Yeah, it is pretty rough.
His 20-inch screen TV or whatever.
Yeah, that like
Gets
comes
you
up out
every
of the wall.
time, man.
I sometimes go down the YouTube rabbit hole. Hard to believe, I know, but of YouTube cringe videos. I'll just try to
What's that like?
Try not to cringe. It's just like you
real life situations.
Yeah. There's like real stuff that happens, and it would make you cringe. It's like people saying stuff that they would think would be funny, but it ends up not being funny. You know, that kind of stuff. And I prefer the try not to laugh challenges. Then I'll send them to him, and he's like, "You're an idiot." Did you watch any of the videos I sent you yesterday?
Yes.
By the way, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Okay. I watched all of them.
So, "Lady May" is my new favorite song by Tyler Childers. Have you heard it?
I have not.
Oh, it's great. I don't think I can play it on here without copyright issues, but
Can you sing it?
no.
Okay.
I can't sing like Tyler Childers. But here's the thing. It's just the guitar part I love.
That's an older song, right? Or is it new? Is it on one of his previous albums?
2017.
Is it the?
Oh, yeah. It sounds familiar.
Purgatory is the album.
I'm so terrible with song names because, like, used to, when you put a CD in and I'm looking at the case and, like, I know the tracks and I know the names. And now it's on the phone and I just hit, like, play, run through it. And it's on the screen, but I'm not really looking at it like I used to. So I probably have heard it, but I'm just not.
Yeah.
As big of a music purist as I've heard that you are, I figured that you would know everything
purist.
about Tyler.
You know, I had a Weird Al Yankovic CD once upon a time, right? I don't know if you can call me a purist by any
country
stretch.
music purist.
I love music, man, all kinds. I listen to music all day, every day, all varieties. My family was pumping music through the house all the time growing up, and I do love Tyler Childers, but I don't know all the breakdown of all the names of every song like I used to, which is why I've kind of gotten back into, buying records and having it in your hand and the sleeve and all that stuff. And you think about, which now you can very easily rip onto an MP3 and put on your phone the same way, so you can have both. And a lot of new albums, obviously, if you go buy the record, is going to give you that digital copy, which I think is a great idea from the artist. But you go to Ralph's Records going for $4. I mean, they're giving the greatest stuff ever made away for $4 or whatever.
Wow.
And so I've kind of gotten back into that over the last handful of years. And I don't know, there's just something about like having that in your hand. And you talk about art, like record art once upon a time.
Yeah.
There's some covers you just like stare at forever. And I also love the fact that I can go back on artists that I love and think I know every song of. You go find a record, you put it on, and there's something there you've never heard before, which it takes my favorite artist to get me to listen to an album that way anymore, like a new release to where you find something new. But otherwise, a lot of times it's like, oh, you hear this song and you get the song or whatever. It's kind of like piecemeal, I guess, in a way. But I love going back and just putting on something that I don't know everything on. I mean, I haven't listened to a million times. I mean, I'm from Littlefield, Texas. I'm a Waylon Jennings fanatic. But I can go get a record because he put out about, 6,000 of them like they used to do, about 6 records a year, whatever it seemed like. And you put something on, you're like, man, this is a song I've literally never heard before. And it's kind of hard to get that experience anymore, I feel like, at least for guys that have grown up and are not in their teenage years.
Yeah. That's kind of why I hate when artists release a single before they release the album too. You can't, when they release the whole album, you can experience the whole thing as it is.
Yeah, for sure.
But then they release the album when the single's already been released for 6 months. And that one just kind of...
Well, the flow of the album, like an album, they don't all have to be this way, but an album that has a flow, it doesn't have to be like a concept album or anything, even though I love those. But, I mean, they put them in an order for a reason most of the time, and I think most artists feel like it makes sense in that way. So, I mean, Tyler Childers is definitely on the list of just let the album play and you have to pay attention. Guys like Sturgill Simpson, and I mean, some of those I want to hear from beginning to end. It's kind of like a movie, I guess, in a way, for your ears. So maybe if I had a $50,000 sound system and you told me what movie do you want to see, I want to see with my ears A Sailor's Guide to the Universe, Galaxy. What's that album called? Sailor's Guide to the Universe. You familiar with that one, Sturgill Simpson?
I'm not, no.
I mean, it's like you listen to it. I don't know how long it is. Maybe it's an hour or something. But it all weaves together. Pretty cool. I like it when they do that.
So it's like, so each track just goes into the next and the next.
Kind of. Okay. I mean, you can easily listen to them separate and not miss out on anything.
I gotcha.
But in one sitting, that's another album cover that I'll just stare at.
Yep.
Yeah. I used to get really nervous when people asked me what I thought about albums because I told them like, I love Alan Jackson's whatever song on this particular album. I love this one. They're like, oh, what do you think about the rest of it? Literally me having listened to that one song on repeat for the past day. So I'm different. I'm opposite when it comes to albums and artists. I find one song that I like, and if somebody asks me if I like that artist or that album, I'm like, I like that song. And I tend to get that way. I tend to focus in on that one song and play it on repeat again and again and again until I don't like it anymore. Then I do the next. So I'm a very terrible music person in that way.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
I really should be, because I don't think I enjoy music the way that you're supposed to enjoy it. I think the way you guys describe it, it sounds like it's the better, more fulfilling way to enjoy music.
No, I think you just enjoy it as you enjoy it. There's no wrong way.
Can you go back to that music later on, years from now?
Oh yeah, I can. I mean, I've got stuff that I know I've listened to for, like here for instance, I listened to Bill Withers' "Lean on Me" on repeat when I got my little iPod Shuffle, the little iPod Nano, the one that's like that big.
Yeah.
I listened to it constantly when I first got it when I was like 15. About a year ago, I went through a phase where I listened to it constantly for a couple days. But
you didn't get into the Bill Withers album.
No.
You're missing out. Okay, that is the wrong way to do that. I take back what I just said a moment ago. Well, that's one of those $4 records I scooped up, Bill Withers, and the hits. I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time, R.I.P. I think he just took the long nap like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, but got a Bill Withers album because of some of those hits and then just let it run through.
Yeah.
Oof. Smooth as eggs, baby. I love Bill Withers, man. Who is he and what is he to you? If you can work in the lyric "Dadgummit girl" like he does there, who is he and what is he to you? I was looking you in your eyes too much there. I'm sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable.
I was like,
not accusing you of anything.
Step one, assert dominance. Don't break eye contact.
Are you mirroring me? I need to be mirroring Jackson.
Yeah, bring it on. No, you talk about art producing an involuntary response in you, your little shoulder thing. I'm like, if music don't make you do that.
That's exactly right. Have no control. I mean, like I said, I love music, so I listen to it all day, every day. And I'm in my vehicle a lot. But, just drive down the road and then all of a sudden your hair's like standing on end. Like that happens to me a lot.
Yeah.
Just any song.
So what's a song that moves you? Like a song that'll get you going like that. That actually gets down deep in the heart and actually gets.
Man, the list would be long. I mean, we just mentioned Sturgill Simpson. All Around You from that album, A Sailor's Guide to the Universe. I mean, I'll give myself goosebumps just thinking about it. That's a great song. I'm moved by thousands, I guarantee you. I mean, music affects me that way. And I could never play anything other than a trombone, which I would kill.
Really?
First chair, baby. Oh, yeah.
Man.
That's the second trombone mentioned this week. I probably hadn't mentioned playing the trombone. I don't know why. I've kicked that out on 2 shows. I have no clue. But
maybe
I'm not like musically inclined.
Really?
No. That I know of.
So like you don't like instrument musically inclined or singing musically inclined or anything in particular?
If you heard me sing, somebody, you'd probably say you're not musically inclined, but you enjoy it. You enjoy it.
Yeah.
They might say that. I hope they would say that because it'd be the nice thing to say. So you should keep on singing.
You enjoy it. Yeah.
But once upon a time, trombone, baby, until I got those braces, and then I had to break out. 8th grade band, cutting me up too much. I remember once upon a time we moved to the country, and it took a while to get everything set up, like as far as television and stuff. I was probably like 13 or 14. My father played the piano. I mean, I got kinfolk that play the piano, grandparents, stuff like that. You know, back in the day, it seemed like everybody had a piano in their house. They all played the piano. But
yeah,
I remember sitting down and like picking out some songs just kind of, you know, by ear in a way. Very, very basic stuff. But I could kind of play it and it would sound like it. For some reason, the Titanic song was what I used to play.
Oh, man.
Then we got satellite television. And I remember my father saying, like, you didn't have TV for 2 weeks. You're by ear picking out the Titanic song. We get TV back, and now it's just back to Cheez-Its and whatever, TRL or whatever.
We used to be such intelligent people before we got TV.
Once upon a time.
We could land on the moon. We could do all this stuff, and then we got TV and the internet, and it's like...
You know, you mentioned earlier, though, that like with everything so bad right now, and I just really wonder if it is.
It's not.
Because we live in the best time to ever be a human.
It's the best, man.
Poverty, disease... ease of use of whatever at your fingertips. I mean, all these things are at the best point that they've ever been.
If you're talking about the general comforts of life, this is the best time. If you're talking about mental and identity and spiritual and all that kind of stuff, I think it's probably one of the worst times. And here's why. I think we got so much of the good that we're not able to enjoy enough of the simple. And I think sometimes people get wrapped up in all the good that we got and they can't get enough of it. And don't know how to handle it. It's like a fire hose to a baby. It's like they don't know how to handle it. And I think, but I would agree with you. I think for as far as just general comforts, lack of disease, lack of death, people in third world countries, you know, are making more than they did making 5 times as much as what they did 50 years ago.
Sure.
And yeah, I think for those reasons, it's definitely better.
Infant mortality, I mean, starvation, all these things, which, by the way, we're on the cusp of a famine. I don't know if we need to get into that on this episode, but that may be making a return.
Yeah, that may be one of those things we
that's
look back
all the rage. But I feel like that's part of the destruction of a culture, too, is to make people really believe, like, this is all screwed up.
Oh, yeah.
When it's really not.
Well, you said it. You talked about going out to see the agricultural people and all that.
Yeah.
If you just go outside and talk to people, everything's kind of fine. Yeah. It's when you look at the news, everything's burning down. Stop being happy. Everything's bad. Don't have any peace.
Right.
Go to bed afraid. And it's like, no.
You know, as you're talking about like emotionally, spiritually, things like that in the world, I think there's probably some truth in that being in a rough state right now. But I also feel like it's all cyclical, and we have to have these states. We've come out of an extreme period of comfort.
Yep.
In the time that we grew up in, decade apart. I don't want to put you in the same basket or anything. You weren't exactly with me there in '84 when I hit the floor. But I read a book called The Fourth Turning, and it's just all about the cycles of life and how time is a flat circle. We repeat just like the seasons. You've got times of great strife and then conflict, and then that's going to lead to a more comfortable time. And then you've got a disintegration or whatever of that comfort. And that's the point we're in right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to have an uncomfortable reset. I think we really have some hard times coming here in our country. We're not there yet. It's going to get much worse. I really do think food is going to be an issue globally. I mean, they're talking about billions migrating as a result of what they'll say is climate change, but I think it's going to be more so these people dying as a result of famine. And if you really want to get tinfoil hat, it's intentionally inflicted. in my opinion, because it's all based in destructive energy policies. Like what's going on in the Netherlands, what's going on in a lot of places right now with farmers, with agriculture, and don't think it can't happen here. I mean, we could pretty soon be dumping piles of manure on the courthouse steps in Lubbock, Texas. I hope not.
I
love that that's the first move, though, for the farmers.
Yeah.
You're coming at us? Get the manure, boys. Get the manure. They ain't got no plan for that whenever that's covering up the front door.
They're gonna,
I love that.
what are you going to do now?
Get the manure. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
30% reduction in fertilizer? Get the manure.
They're going to be dumping manure on the courthouse steps, and you're going to be like going the other direction. And they're like, wait, what's he doing? I'll be back. I'm going to the Buddy Holly Hall over here.
Yeah, they need a little spread too. But I mean, these things are coming. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can look at places like Germany right now, and they're like gathering wood for the winter.
Yeah.
Because of destructive energy policies. And you kind of wonder, like, the people that are implementing these things, they can't be just total nincompoops. They have to know that it's destructive in some way, I guess. I mean, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, so maybe good intentions are a part of it. But, I think it's a C.S. Lewis quote that has something to do with, like, there are all kinds of terrible tyrannies, but there's also the tyranny of saying, I'm doing this for your well-being.
Yeah.
And that's as dangerous, maybe the most dangerous of all.
The greatest, what is it? The greatest alibi of tyrants is safety.
Yeah, the public's well-being. Yeah.
That's the best, because that's the thing. Nobody just stands up there and says, I'm a tyrant. I'm here to rule over you.
Here to be tyrannical.
No, it's always we always got to have a villain. There's always got to be somebody I'm protecting you against.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to get super tinfoil hat here, actually, no, this is documented. This isn't tinfoil. Hitler and the Jews. Jews are a threat. They're a threat to us and our identity. We got to have an enemy.
Yeah.
We got to paint somebody as the enemy. And I'm not trying to say anybody's Hitler today. I'm just saying the things repeat themselves. The methods are the same. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure.
And people have gotten ostracized, and people have gotten, thrown off the air, thrown off of public life. There was that lady that got thrown off of The Mandalorian.
Gina Carano.
Yeah, she got thrown off of that because of the way she phrased, and I think she could have phrased it better. I mean, and she's gone on record, I think, saying she could have phrased it better. But comparing the people wearing masks to Jews, or people not wearing masks, not vaccinated, to the Jews, Holocaust, like
it was like if your neighbor's ratting you out for not wearing a mask, they're like a brown shirt. Is what she was saying, and it was a meme. I don't even think she was saying anything. It was a meme. Well, I mean, I don't care if she's in The Mandalorian or not.
I mean, I don't really care about the actors that they choose to put in there. It's just more or less don't kick people off for something like that, because that just paints Disney as a company that I don't really want to watch anything they put out. And that's how they're going to treat their people.
I wouldn't. I mean, it's programming.
Yeah,
I really believe that, and it's wild to even think about that. But you look at some of the things now that are involved in like a Disney movie, and I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot stick. I wouldn't let my worst enemy's kid watch it.
Now, getting back to music that moves you, I will say Phil Collins on Tarzan, because it's pre-modern Disney.
All the Phil Collins jams,
dude, man, Son of Man.
I don't even know that. I kind of remember that.
Dude, he went all out on that. He said, there's a line in that song. He says, from with faith and understanding, you will journey from boy to man. I'm like, oh. And maybe it's because a lot of modern day media is just so tough on boys. Not just men, but boys.
Oh, sure.
And where do men come from? They come from boys, man. We got to teach them to be men. And it's like, that was back during a time where there was those subtle hints and those subtle little bits and shows that, I'm not saying you should show your kids 1990s and early 2000s Disney's movies to teach them how to be a man, but at least back then they didn't dog on the idea.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one thing that I appreciate about it. And there's a meme. It says, it's a guy. I'll just show it to you, and I can put up on the video later. But it's the Disney executive saying, okay, Phil, now remember, it's just a movie about apes and a guy who lives with them. We don't need anything crazy on the soundtrack. Oh, yeah, sure. Also, Phil. And it's him, like, standing in front of a piano that's on fire. It's like,
right.
Nothing too crazy. And he
You're not going to dilute Phil Collins.
No.
I mean, that may be a good song, but it's no Sussudio, it sounds like. So
no,
I may stick with that one.
it's one of my favorites.
A buddy of mine in high school got a Jeep Grand Wagoneer, whatever, used vehicle to drive around when he got his license. It was white with gold rims. It's hilarious. And there was a Phil Collins CD stuck in it when he got it.
Oh, man.
And we jammed Phil Collins for like 2 years. It seems like anytime we were in that ride, it was Phil Collins that was on the box. I really got to know Phil during that time, for sure. It's got some great jams. One More Night. It's a good one.
It reminds me of How I Met Your Mother. I don't know if y'all are familiar with this, but Marshall had a old cruddy Fiero and the Proclaimers was stuck in his car. And so 5,000 miles,
Right.
they had to listen to that on repeat.
That was a great show until they actually explained how he met his mother.
Oh, I know.
Oh, they gave away the magic.
I was like, oh, what an ending.
Well, it was just a terrible ending.
Yeah.
The way
I love Marshall, though. He's one of the great all-time television characters.
Isn't it funny how shows can be ruined by such a terrible ending?
The kid's telling him about dinosaurs, and he says, oh, thanks, I didn't want to sleep tonight.
Looking at since I'm an inspector, I think this episode is funny when Ted buys this old house and the inspector comes in. He's like, well, I rang the doorbell, but it doesn't work. He's like, oh yeah, doorbell does not work. And he goes upstairs and he comes back. He's like, well, I think we're going to be out of here early. And oh, that's great. And he said, well, and he starts naming off all these terrible things. Oh, no termites, And he said, and he mentioned the hobo, and he walks off, and Marshall's like, did he just say hobo? And later falls through the ceiling. He's like, found the termites.
Found the termites. I love, that's one of my favorite forms of comedy. Is really quick comedy. Like when things happen super quick in a skit, like somebody gets hit, somebody runs into something, somebody falls. When it's really abrupt like that, that's my jam when it comes to comedy. But then again, it's kind of unfair comedy. It's kind of like walking up to somebody and tickling them and saying, "Ha, I'm funny because I made you laugh," or like a movie with a jump scare in it. It's like, see, we're a scary movie because we jumped out and scared you. Like that to me is not a scary movie. If it relies on jump scares, it's not scary.
Yeah, if they like never show you anything and you're terrified, that's a pretty good scary movie. I feel like the Blair Witch, Once Upon a Time when you thought it was real.
Goodness.
But yeah, scary movies. I mean, those are the easiest ones to make poorly, I feel like. I love a good scary movie, but it's like 1 out of 100 or 500 that are any good.
Paranormal Activity, when it first came out, I remember everybody's like, this is the scariest thing ever. It's awesome. And I think it was because it was so novel. Like that was back when the found footage thing was new. They made that movie for $10,000.
Really?
$10,000. They made that movie.
Let me tell you this. Amityville Horror, the Ryan Reynolds remake, I saw on a Sunday night in a theater with a buddy. There's like 2 people in the theater, which for some reason made it even scarier. That movie freaked me out. And I go back to the house. I lived in a trailer house at the time. My roommates are out of town. And I'm like, I wish somebody was here with me right now. All of a sudden, my buddy calls me after, an hour, and he's like, hey, I'm thinking about coming to your house. Sleeping on the couch. Like, come on over, bro. Come on over.
That bad.
But that was there's some jumps in it, but, like that one, What Lies Beneath, the Harrison Ford water movie, that one freaked me out. Back in the day, Signs, when I saw that one in the theater, I'll have to go off on a tangent here, but my family, I was still in high school, took my girlfriend to see it. We saw Bill Cosby at the Municipal Coliseum that night. So it was a scary night all the way around. We survived that one, though. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Saw Signs like late night. My family had moved from the country into town because we had a black mold problem, we found out. So we're like ripping out the entire house, right? So we're living in town in a duplex at this time. Our house is surrounded by corn that my father farmed at the time.
Of course.
I have to call the old man. Hey, we're going to see a late show. Is that all right? Yeah, when you're coming back into town, because the farm was located between Lubbock and Littlefield on Highway 84. Check the wells at this farm. Okay. And these are like, these are engines. These are not electric wells at that time. So it's like, like really pumping out. So it's like 1:30 when we're coming back home. I got my girlfriend. I'm 16 or 17, whatever it is. I got to go check this. In the middle of a cornfield, like you got to drive down the rows. I mean, you're surrounded. It's like as big as this room, the space where the engine is, the well motor, and you're surrounded by corn. After seeing Signs, and I remember my girlfriend was like, are you going to take me home before you go do that? I said, hell no. You're right there with me. And so you get out in front of the headlights. It's so loud. And I don't know if that thing had any drip oil in it or not. I don't know if it was running right. I just know it was on. And I got home ASAP. That movie freaked me out. And it probably looks corny now if you watch it. I hadn't seen it in a while, but I don't know why that trip to the cornfield is one of the scariest of all time.
You were not prepped properly.
And that relationship didn't last. I think that was the night she found out I was a coward. So she left me. Like, dude, I'm not going to save you from anything in the corn. What do you want me here for?
We used to mow yards when I was in high school, and we got the Olton Cemetery job.
There you go.
You had to change water, which you spend enough time out there, it's just,
You're right. Yeah.
And anytime people would say, like, we'd go change water in the middle of the night out there at the cemetery, and you keep your head on a swivel, but it's not near as scary when you spend hours on end out with dead people.
Like, it's just, I remember watching, and it's not a scary movie, but I was scared of it as a kid. It was Deep Blue Sea with Samuel Jackson in it.
With the shark?
Yeah, with the biologically engineered sharks designed to cure Alzheimer's, and it's like, what are we doing here?
I never saw that. Are you making this up right now?
No, they're designed to cure Alzheimer's, and they're making super sharks out there, and it's like, it's supposed to play with this deep idea of, like, what are we going to do? Like, we give sharks the ability to think and to be like just super sharks, and they're super intelligent, but we get to cure Alzheimer's. Is it worth it? We got a whole ocean full of, these crazy killing machines.
Right.
Anyway, I just remember, because I was born in Hawaii and I grew up around the ocean.
Oh, really?
Would not go swimming for a long time after watching that. Wouldn't go swim in a pool.
Well, like we already talked about, the road to hell is paved with bioengineered Alzheimer curing sharks. Like that's common knowledge.
That is the greatest change up of that quote ever.
Well, I'm just
good intentions, bioengineered sharks.
I think it fits.
It is. Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
Or a cancer cure that turns everybody into crazy zombies.
I Am Legend, wonderful movie.
Yeah, or a vaccine that blows up a teenager's heart. So there's all kinds of wild stuff going on.
Full circle. Here we are again, folks.
Shout out to those myocarditis maniacs out there in the audience.
Demonetization coming near to a podcast near you.
Oh, my bad.
I'm not even monetized, man. It's all good. It's funny the steps that YouTubers and podcasters have taken to keep themselves from getting demonetized, mentioning that stuff. Like, there's one guy, JP, Awaken with JP. You know that guy?
Not familiar, no.
Long red hair. He's a very dry bar comedian type dude, and anyway, when he says vaccine, he'll go,
yeah.
He'll like,
I've heard some guys like that.
Yeah, they'll just mess it up to where
change the word.
Yeah, it's that we're at that point.
I mean, like Jeff Goldblum says, life finds a way, and there you have it.
Stupidity and tyranny find a way. Speaking of which, greed found a way with those new Jurassic Park movies. Those were garbage. No offense if anybody likes them.
Jeff Goldblum is rolling over in his grave, and he's not even dead. He's just weird like that. He hated it so much he went
into a grave and he rolled around
in it a little bit.
Yeah, it was bad. And they tried to bait people by putting the original 3 actors in the new one.
They didn't get me.
No.
I was out at Vince Vaughn in like the second or third one. Vince Vaughn was in one, remember? Like the second one.
Oh, yeah. He was the...
going way back.
I've seen just the original one.
That's
an enchanted life, right?
That's a good place to stay.
No kidding.
You think about that, though. I wish, like, if there was a way to have only watched one of a certain series of movies, I would do it. Like, if I could go back and only have seen the original Star Wars and not seen any of the new ones... Maybe I would add in the prequels, maybe.
The first 3 or just...
The first 3, yeah. The original 80s and late 70s ones. I'd probably do that with the original Alien movies, Alien 1 and 2. Speaking of which, going back to female protagonists, I like what Alien did with the female protagonist because they made her a strong female, but they didn't make her insufferable. That's what I appreciate about those movies. You can have a strong female lead. I was meaning to say this when you're on the subject of the new Predator movie. I've got no problem with a strong female character.
No.
I love Ellen Ripley as the lead in that movie. She's a strong female character. I love Sarah Connor in Terminator 2. Strong female character. But they're not insufferable and they're not Mary Sue's. They don't demean all the people around them to make themselves look good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that's just realistic.
Yeah.
All the strong women I know in real life, which I know plenty are not victims.
Exactly.
But like so many of the movies now, like, oh, she's strong because she was a victim.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, it's really more offensive than anything.
It really is. It's pandering and it's demeaning to them more than anything.
I think about my sisters and my mother. If I felt like they were brittle enough or weak enough that I had to tell them all the time, "You're beautiful, strong, independent." Like, how offensive is that? They'd be like, "Yeah, I don't need to be told that all day every time."
How much of those things are you actually if you need to be told it all the time.
You're none of those things.
Yeah. And the cool thing was that Sarah Connor was a victim in the sense that something happened to her. Like, she got chased by a killing robot, that's
But
bad.
that wasn't her redeeming quality.
No, it was how she came out of it.
Right.
Exactly.
Now it is like, I'm a victim, applaud me.
Yeah.
Admire me. That's really a wild currency that we trade in right now, socially. Victimhood.
It's awful.
And it's as toxic as anything can be. I mean, I think about when these people grow up and have to deal with like middle life or things like that, and like you were saying, you're not going to be a prisoner of your 20s forever. You're going to change. Your mind will change. Your perspectives will change.
Don't develop your identity in your 20s. Don't do that. Definitely don't develop your identity in your late teens. Don't do it.
No.
But no, I mean, in wrapping up, I really do want to end on a hopeful note because that was kind of depressing talking about the social currency stuff. But I do think people are waking up to it. I think, you talked about how people don't know how to think anymore. And people just aren't thinking anymore.
Critical thinking.
Yeah, we've become a world of not people who think critically, but we're critical of those who think. And I think...
Put that on a T-shirt.
Man, I'm telling you.
Get a bumper sticker, something.
It's fortune cookie wisdom, man. But I think people are waking up to that. I think people are they're choosing the right pill and they're waking up to stuff. And I think they're seeing the absurdity of things. And, this is the thing. I know some people who lean a little bit left. Full disclosure, I'm right-leaning government-wise, as much involved in government as I am, which I'm not. There's some social stuff I might be a little bit more centrist on. But there's people who are on the far side of issues that are having more conversations about these things.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that. And I think that's a sign that we're not quite as polarized as we'd like to think we are. And I think that's where the problem is. I think the more we think we're polarized, it's where it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. Like them saying magic is for children. Then you go to camp and it's just all kids. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Michael Scott, Casey Cowan. No, I totally agree. And that's why I have faith in the populace, because I'm seeing the response. I feel like so many people for so long, because this has been going on for a while, like the building up of it. Hell, it's been going on since the 60s. Cloward Piven and all these things. I mean, this is a plan, well-funded, well-orchestrated, et cetera. And so many people just haven't had to pay attention to it or like kind of reconcile their thoughts with how they view these things, I guess. But then all of a sudden it's like, my sophomore daughter is getting beat by a dude in a track meet, and I'm a bigot because I think that's weird. So now I have to reconcile. I think these things are becoming so in your face and so absurd that people are having to say, yeah. I always thought once upon a time, not always, but at some point a while ago, I thought this is not like a liberal versus conservative or red versus blue thing. It is a common sense versus none thing. And I don't think you're just born necessarily with common sense.
Nope.
So it's not necessarily their fault, those who don't operate in that kind of world. And I'm very encouraged by like what seems to be what you're describing there, that so many people are just saying, look, I got all kinds of different opinions on fiscal issues and social issues and whatever, but I got common sense. I want to be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
I want to pay my bills. I want to make a living. I want my kids to have a better life than I did. I still think there's like 300 million Americans that want that.
I think
and there may be 20 million that are insane on both extremes.
Yeah.
And if we let them, they'll just burn us up in the middle with their flamethrowers that they're cast into each side. But I don't really feel like we'll let them do that. It's going to be a struggle, but I don't think in the end that it'll be that way.
Yeah. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for it. Yeah. Sawyer's not hopeful.
I didn't hear you chiming in there, Sawyer.
I didn't hear you agree. Do you not agree with us, sir?
That's right.
I'm probably the one who spends the most time on Twitter, and so it's it's pretty disheartening.
Bad sampling.
I got into an argument the other day with a guy, and I generally do not engage with people on Twitter because you can't change people's minds. But it was about farming, and so I had to go in on him.
Yeah.
Well, think about all the things we've discussed here. If we were each on our phones conversing over Twitter, and it's like, okay, I got limited characters, and I want to make sure I say exactly what I say, and then like you just kind of skim over mine. You're like, well, I don't like that part, so now I'm going to say exactly what I want to say, and we're not even really talking to each other. We're talking at each other, I guess.
We're talking past each other.
Yeah, it's just it's not meant for any kind of conversation. I get so fed up with all these commercials, Facebook, all the social media stuff. Connect with your community. Look at your grandparents on a video. I don't need Facebook to coach me on how to connect with a community, that's not connecting.
When an AI began to coach us on how to have a better interaction with other humans, that's when you know things were downhill from there. I mean, you know where that started? It's when websites started to say, verify that you are not a robot. I'm sorry, you're a robot.
Right.
Why are you telling me to verify
Isn't that AI training is what I've read. They're like, point out every bicycle in this image, or like all the images with bicycles. And I've read that is training the AI to recognize bicycles. Like you're helping it out or whatever. So now I refuse.
Not today, Skynet.
I will not access this website. I will not tell you what a stoplight actually looks like.
I don't need this subscription or this free coupon. I don't need it.
But I'm sure y'all have noticed, like television commercials, all these corporations who have got no values really. I mean, and I'm not saying they necessarily have. I don't care. Make a profit. Try not to kill anybody, treat your employees as best you can.
Yeah.
But all these commercials now are just like, it's GE that's telling them, we're all in this together. Take a flying leap, GE. I mean, just sell me your washing machine.
Yeah.
I don't need to be inspired by you. Commercials really wear me out these days, and I just hate them anyway. But the faux inspiration, and you'll, like Super Bowl time, you get so many of these, and blah, it just makes me throw up. I mean, we don't need to be coached by you. We don't need to be hall monitored by you. Mm-hmm. Sell your product. Leave us alone. Yeah. But I don't know how we reverse that train. I guess you got to hit a bottom, right? I don't want to say reverse, but to change course, you got to hit a bottom. And I don't think we've quite hit it just yet.
Yeah, I think we got to realize we're in the bottom. It's the prodigal son. You got to realize you're in the mire with the pigs before you turn around. That's the problem. A lot of people don't know that they're there. And that story, it's when he comes to. It's when he realizes that he's in the mire with the pigs.
Yeah.
That's when he gets up and says, I'm going to go to my father's house. I'm going to go have a feast.
That's a good point, man. And there are a lot of people that realize that, and there are a lot of people that don't.
Yeah.
You're right.
And it's not all things to all people. That's as much as I know.
Sure. We're all just trying to make it.
Yeah, but I've loved having these kind of conversations with people, especially agents and other people in the business. You find out, because our conversations that we have with other agents are pretty short. 30 seconds, a minute, get the water heater flushed.
They're not in depth.
Clean out the AC system, replace the dishwasher, whatever. Have a good day. Thanks for the business. Having conversations like this, it exposes to me, we're not all that different. Like, we disagree on a couple things here and there, but in general, we're pretty similar,
Well, yeah, but I mean, try to get an appraiser in here and feel that way.
Yeah, appraisers no, they're not real people. They're just robots. I love you, Tyler Cheney. I love you. I love you, man.
Oh, yeah, my bad, TC. I didn't mean to be. I did think this was kind of weird because I just came up here to get an inspection report, and now we've been sitting here for like an hour and a half having a conversation. I'm like, guys,
I've been gaslighting him this whole time.
I do enjoy visiting with you, but could I just get the report, please?
You'll get it in 72 hours, and you'll like it.
You guys are very thorough. I recommend you to everybody I know.
Appreciate the plug. Oh, speaking of plugs, so your podcasts.
Yeah, Black Label Radio, weekly. Every Friday morning, it's me and my guy, Kirkley Knowles. He is one of those at the leading edge of the name, image, and likeness monetization movement within college athletics. He runs the Level 13 agency, which is representing student athletes in this new era, representing businesses that want to connect with Texas Tech student athletes, et cetera. Anyway, that's Black Label Radio. You can check that out anywhere you get podcasts. It comes out every Friday morning at 9 o'clock. And Locked on Texas Tech with the only Chris Level, the legend. We just got that going 2 weeks ago. That's a daily podcast every morning, 7 a.m. on YouTube. It's up at 3 a.m. wherever you get your podcasts, but that's called Locked on Texas Tech. So would appreciate anybody subscribing and checking it out.
Link will be in the show notes.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it,
Would appreciate a plug as well from all two of our subscribers. My mom likes to tune in every now and then. She leaves nice comments and stuff.
I hope she's not a huge Avatar fan.
She's not.
I want to offend the whole family.
If you're not offending your family, you're not having fun.
Are you going to see the second one, though?
I don't know.
You're kind of jaded. Like
there's a morbid curiosity, but I mean, I don't know. It's like when James Cameron pumps out stuff like Titanic, Aliens, really good movies. It's like I don't know. And when he says that he's focusing the next 10 years of his career on Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, it's like I don't think you're the same guy.
Right.
Just because you wrote a good book, you made a good movie, doesn't mean that you're always going to do that.
Oh, for sure.
Peter Jackson did the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the greatest movie trilogy of all time, arguably. He made a clunker or two. I mean, it's like I don't know. It's just probably not. Short answer.
Yeah.
Nah.
Dumb and Dumber 2 sucked.
Oh, goodness.
It's hard to hit a home run twice.
Day. We watched Dumb and Dumber the other day. That holds up. I could watch that every day. That's the best comedy of all time, in my opinion.
It definitely holds up. No question.
It's so good. Fade out. Mercy.